Okay. Um, we have returned for some more in-depth discussions. Still have a little bit of a upgrade going on, so we're gonna see if we can get through it today. Because I did want to come back. I've been very off and on my schedule, and especially this summer. So I'm probably going to continue that for the summer. I couldn't even tell you when I'm supposed to be on today. I don't even know what it even says on Twitch. I can't remember. So I didn't even feel like looking. So I'll try to get back on schedule at some point, but it probably won't be till, honestly, at this point, or after the Lions Gate. So after 8/8 and probably more getting into the fall equinox. So, but I'll make sure I keep content on here. My YouTube page gets updated more than this does, but I do have to come on live for different reasons. One, it's a little bit quicker. It's quicker to upload it, and you don't have to do a lot of editing to it. And two, it's just fun to be live. It's just a lot funner, and I enjoy it more than the videos sometimes. So I'm going to address a couple things today. This kind of came up in one of the comments I got on YouTube, and I wanted to talk about astral projection. And I'm going to throw channeling in there because they're kind of two similar things. And I entitled it Myths About Astral Projection and Channeling because there's a lot of, I don't really like the word myths because that says that it's not true. And in a way, that's not true either. Because different truths happen in different consciousnesses, and that's one of the things we get really bogged down on the word truth, and we get really bogged down on, especially our human consciousness, even into our fourth dimensional ascension process. We're so kind of hung up on truth. What's the truth? That's my truth, and truth changes, and depending on where someone's coming from, what they believe is going to be different than what you believe, but not because they're believing something that's not true. It's because their consciousness leads them to that conclusion, and your consciousness leads you to a different conclusion. But as humans, we take it all very personal. When we're still in the fourth dimension, we're still very much controlled, in a sense, by our human consciousness. So we take a lot of stuff personal, and even way into your fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth dimensional consciousness, dimensional anchoring, you still take a lot of stuff personal. There's still a personalness to it which kind of feels like almost like an oxymoron in a sense, right? Because it's a very personal internal journey, but we can't take anything personal. No matter how personal it is, we can't take it personal. Because it's our own internal personal journey and everyone else's internal personal journey. So their choices they're making are because of what their consciousness dictates them to make. The one that's in control. And if it's a human consciousness in control of that decision, it might feel totally, I'm going to polarize this a little bit just for the talk today. It can make you feel totally against what you yourself want to believe or where you want to go. But it's not a personal thing against you. It's just, it feels that way because we're not as anchored in to the consciousness and secure in what we're saying that we take a lot of this stuff very personally. And sometimes when we take it personal, it also, there's a reason it's said to us because it also digs up where that program is. Anything that gets you when somebody says it. We have a big thing going on where you see it all the time. And anytime you see it, somebody says it, I know exactly, it's almost like it's the opposite of what they're saying. When anyone says, oh, that's yours, not mine. That's you, not me. No. If it's in your consciousness, if someone said it to you and you even have to feel the need to respond that that's yours, not mine, it is 100% yours. It is 100% belonging to us when it triggers us in any way. If we have to sit there and get any kind of emotion charge out of it, then it is ours. And meaning when I say it is ours in the sense it's triggering something for us to look at. It's saying something back to us that we think ourselves. It's speaking a program back to us that we're holding, and we have to look at ourselves and not shoot the messenger for saying it and project it back right away. Like, oh, no, that's you, not me. You know? Anytime anybody says that, and when I would say it, I used to do the same thing. So everything I'm saying, I'll say because I did the same thing. But, oh, no, that's theirs, not mine. No, it's mine. I'm going to mark it on my list as something of mine because it is mine. If it gets a reaction and any kind of feeling at all. If you have no feeling about it and it doesn't matter, you feel no need to even say that. It just is known that that's something that person's working through and you just keep going, you know. And unless someone asks your opinion on it, you don't even give an opinion on it, you know, because it doesn't matter. It is not something that you're going to sit there and go, wow, that really matters that I come up and say this or I come up and say that. It doesn't matter. So, just, I don't know why I threw that in, but so it felt important to kind of throw that in, so we could throw that in. That if any kind of reaction at all, it belongs to you, okay? And it's ours to kind of look at and see, okay, why did that person say that? Why does that bother me? Because that person said that because it was supposed to bother you to show you where that program is. You're directing this whole thing. If we give the power to somebody else, saying they're the ones in control, we are, in a sense, unconscious in that moment because we're the ones that are doing it. There are aspects of us showing us something we don't want to see. They might not be aspects of us we like. And we have this misconception that all of our aspects are aspects we want to embrace and they're all just, you know, the best thing in the world, in a sense. And they're all higher consciousness aspects. And some of our aspects aren't. There's not just one aspect of our ego. You know, there's not one higher aspect we have. We have multiple ones. We have multiple, I don't even want to say versions, but that's kind of the word that's coming. We have a multiple version of kind of the same thing in a sense. You know, we have different aspects. We have different shades in a sense of our ego. And when we have someone in front of us, and we don't care for we don't resonate with the person. In our human consciousness, we would say, I don't really even like the person. Yeah, they're still here, and I don't know why they're still in my life. There's a couple people like that, and because of different reasons regarding, you know, other reasons to stay in a reality, whether it be children, money, security, whatever reason we stayed. And there's a lot of realities we all look back on and see where we stayed in some because of, you know, there were other parameters going on. And in those realities, we really didn't either know how to align it, even though we were supposed to. We just kind of let them set. There would be some people you're looking at and you're like, how can you still be here? You know, I've shifted so much. I've changed so much. How are you still here? What is the thread between you and me that you have not left my reality? And some of these people are not people they're people that we can feel like we're so opposite of. We don't dislike them. You know, we don't have a hatred for them. It's just, we can see we have so little in common besides maybe we have a child together, or so little in common besides whatever it is. But it's like, how are you still holding here? You know, how are you still holding? If our frequencies are going to shift and I'm so far beyond where the frequencies we used to meet, how are you still holding here? How are you still in this reality? It shouldn't work this way. And we can't kind of figure out who they are. And we can't kind of figure out why they're there and what aspect they are of us. And it's a kind of a conundrum for a while for us until we see it. And we don't start to see it till we start to clear it. And then that person might start moving farther away. They might move maybe 20 more minutes down the road. And it might be a very gradual separation from the person instead of all of a sudden they just drop right off. Some people will drop right off. Other people will see that gradual separation because the program, the aspect of you they represent, the program that's binding them there, that binds that aspect to you in a sense, the program that aspect feeds off of, it's so deeply rooted in your core and in your body that it takes maybe years to work through it and unravel it and transcend it. That this person might be around for a while and you might be scratching your head going, why are they here? So I don't know why that tangent came up, but it did. So someone must have needed to hear that at some point. So, okay. I'm going to get off of that and go back to where I started, which was astral plane and what do they call it? Astral projection. And why there's so much fear around two things. When I'll talk about, I usually don't talk about astral projection. I actually looked up the spelling of it because I want to make sure I spelled it right, because I never really think of exploring our consciousness as astral projection, right? So I wanted to go and get the linear definition of the word, which sometimes I would do that when I'm going to talk about something. I want to see what is the definition. If someone looked it up, what is the definition they're going to get? And it kind of sometimes will help me frame where certain people could be and why it can get a certain bad rap in a sense. And, what is it with astral projection where it gets this bad rap? Why does astral projection get this fear around it? Why is it that when it's been utilized, and a lot of times you'll see a lot, if you Google astral projection, if you go on YouTube and look at astral projection, you'll see a lot of CIA experiments where they talk about astral projection. They'll talk about, I think it was the Gateway Project, which used astral projection. A lot of psychics will, remote viewing is basically astral projection. That's what, in the human form of the work. So everything we're going to talk about now is the human consciousness recognition of the work. And then we're going to go into what's going on and kind of why it gets twisted. Our human consciousness twists everything, right? Because it's supposed to keep us unconscious. That's why our human consciousness was rooted into our programming. It's not supposed to liberate us. We have to liberate ourselves from it. It's not going to let you go willingly. That's why Ascension can take so long. It's so rooted in your body. The human programming, your human DNA, your human beliefs. To where anything that's not that gets painted as it's dangerous. I see a lot of stuff about astral projection being dangerous. You can get lost in astral projection. You can get lost. And same thing with channeling. A lot of people, you don't open the door. You got horror movies on this whole thing. No, don't open the door. Don't open the door. And it is supposed to feed a lot of fear into it. It's supposed to get you to confront your fear. And it's funny, the things, I say funny, it's not really funny, but we have to kind of look at a lot of it as we go to different parts of our ascension, the things that we resist, right? There'll be some of us that have no fear of expanding our consciousness beyond the body, which when we get really far out, it can feel, it's a very loss of control feeling. And a lot of our human consciousness doesn't like that. Some people will be a little more into it than others in a sense, but some people just don't like that. So they want to shut it back down because it feels too vast, it feels too big. Because our consciousness is way beyond our body. We can only anchor in realities, though, with our body consciousness. That's why when we talk about anchoring up to 12th dimensional realities physically, that does not encounter how many realities our consciousness can tap into higher than 12th dimension, much higher than 12th dimension, with our consciousness. It's kind of the same, it's one feeds the other. The higher consciousness we can tap into helps the body consciousness raise, but we do have some just basic limitations from the body. One, the human body can only anchor in so much. It wasn't meant to anchor in 200th dimensional consciousness. It's not built like that. 12th dimensional consciousness is a rough enough ride for the body to anchor that in. Everything has to be reworked and redone, and our bodies don't work the same way. They don't work the same way. They are more energetic bodies ever before, and not the carbon-based bodies we kind of start with. So all of your body chemistry starts to shift in a sense, and we start getting into a lot of different weird things that start going on because you're just kind of not built the same way than you were before. The higher you go in your body consciousness. But to start connecting, a lot of people will try different things. Lucid dreaming is one I'll see people try. Though I don't see the fear around lucid dreaming that I see around astral projection and channeling. And people will say, like I said, you shouldn't do it, it's dangerous. Channeling, same thing. You shouldn't do it, it's dangerous. And one of the things that I will always hammer home when like I said, I never thought of expanding my consciousness as for astral projection. I never really felt it like that. Some people still want to call it that. and it doesn't really matter. To me, it's consciousness expansion. So if it helps with the fear to call it something different and get away from calling it astral projection, you're just expanding your consciousness beyond the body, which is what we all do when we sleep. You know, the minute you go to sleep, technically you were astral projecting. You know, that is what you're doing. You're taking your consciousness into different realities, different dimensions, and you're looking at everything. You're doing it unconsciously. So for whatever reason, when you do it unconsciously, I'm like, that's okay, but don't try to do it any other time, because now that's not okay. Because remember, anyone operating from a human consciousness is going to mirror back your own fears about the whole thing. If someone says that you should be afraid of that, and you go, oh yeah, maybe I should be, that's your fear, not their fear. You know, it's now our fear talking back to him. Maybe I should be. You know, maybe this isn't the best thing to do. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Something could happen. You cannot encounter anything but yourself. Point blank. First thing to remember when you're channeling, when you're doing it, it's all you. There's nothing else out there but you. You've created the entire thing. It's your field. Now, does that mean when you are channeling, you're always going to be channeling the higher consciousness part of yourself? Some people will think they are, and some people at times that'll get that can get tainted with the ego. And when you start to break that down, you can see how some of the higher consciousness information you tapped into gets kind of tainted with the ego a bit, because you're still clearing that part of your programming. I was weeding yesterday, and it's interesting to watch how the vines kind of snake up the the branches of the bushes and stuff. And when you cut them out, you can just see how they kind of snaked up. And that's kind of what our root programming ego will do. It'll kind of snake its way up there. And something that started in its highest possible place we could get to in that moment has now gotten a tad tainted. Because when we bought the information down, all these other things start to come into play to feed on what we're saying, or what we felt like we saw, or the information we felt like we were getting. So for a while, we can get confused about who really is talking here. You know, is this my higher consciousness? Is this my ego consciousness? I'm not sure who's talking. I've seen some people label it like I want to call it false consciousness, but I that's not right. I mean, that doesn't feel like that's exactly what somebody said, but something to that effect. Like, I thought it was my higher consciousness, or it wasn't. Or my higher consciousness told me to do something that was obviously, when you look at it from, if someone else looked at it, who had hit on a higher consciousness or was in an ascension process or an awakening, they would probably look at it and go, really? You really feel like that was your higher consciousness? Or is that what you wanted it to be? So it can be a little tricky in some parts of it. But it's still all us. You know, like I said, it might be, we might take something. I know one time I was still channeling back, you know, a long time ago. But still, channeling does help us connect to higher consciousness material, okay? It is helping our body vibration raise. We're allowing that to come in. But we have to embody it in. We have to anchor it in. And there will be a case where we want to hit the higher consciousness and we enjoy the feeling of that. And we want to keep escaping to channeling or escaping to the astral plane, but we don't want to bring it in. We don't want to ask to anchor it in, because when we ask to anchor it in, now we own it. Now we have to take everything that's not aligned with that higher consciousness energy, higher consciousness aspect, and we have to clear that out, or we can't embody it. We can't be it if we're still allowing stuff in our reality that is not it, okay? We cannot empower, we can't do, we're going to embody or activate our God particle. Okay, well, we can't do that if we're still letting everyone else tell us what the fuck to do. If we're not being a prime creator of our reality, which is basically what God consciousness is, if we're still allowing someone else to tell us what to do, where to be, when to go there, and when to say what, well, fuck, that's not God consciousness. That's listening to somebody else tell you what to do. You know, so we can touch on it, we can activate it, but we can't embody it until we actually do that and say, no, I'm the creator of my reality. This is how this is respectful. This is what's respectful. And if you're not going to do that, then this reality closes out with love. and we go on to the next one, and we create something else. But if we're not willing to do that, we're not willing to anchor. If we're not willing to anchor, then we do sit still for a long time. Because we don't want to bring any of it in. We enjoy the connection of it, but we don't want to live it. We don't want to embody it. We don't want to be it. And that's what ascension is. Ascension is not opening the door and then let me close the door. Because I don't it's now uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because there's so much of our life aligned with something that's not that. That's why it's uncomfortable. That's why it brings up fear. That is why we feel the fear hit back at us. It's not the fear specifically of the energy we're bringing in, it's the fear of what we have to do to align with that energy. That's where the fear comes in, and that's what we don't like, and that's where our body's like, nah, I don't know if we're going to need to be doing that. I'm not sure about it, and if we don't listen to what our inner monologue might be saying on that, someone external is going to speak it to you to see, okay, maybe we should be doing that, because maybe we don't want to change anything. Maybe we're okay with everything. Or the very popular, well, I don't know, I didn't get an answer. I meditated, I did all this stuff, but I didn't really get an answer. We're also going to be hampered by what we're able to do, by the purity we're holding. We can't anchor in higher consciousness energy. We can only anchor into a point if we're not holding a level of purity in what we're using it for. You know, that was kind of the whole thing when if you watch any videos or have tapped any into your Atlantic timelines, still running concurrently. Don't think of it as past, but it's your Atlantean timelines, which are more centered on the Atlantic coastline. People in those coastlines, Florida especially, you're working through your Atlantean timelines. But when a lot of people will talk about the fall of Atlantis. And if you watch any documentaries on Atlantis, did it exist, did it not exist? I mean, you can feel into your own energy field, and all that body consciousness, all the information is locked inside the body. The higher consciousness just turns on. People talk unleashing the codes. You're just turning the codes on in your body. You're unlocking the information inside. It's all inside out. So we unlock the information, be like, wow, how did it become so corrupt? Because we had all the power, but none of the purity to operate it from. So in this iteration, in this timeline, in this dimension, in this human consciousness dimension we started in, we have to transcend all that, and we have to have a level of purity before we get the next upgrade in what we're able to do to keep us from destroying everything. There's a lot of resistance to power, and a lot of the channeling, people not wanting to channel or not wanting to actually be the channel in a sense. And I don't be the channel might not be what I want to say there, but become that energy. Bring that energy down, anchor that energy in. We just don't want to activate it, expand. We want to bring it in. That's the point. Like I said, it's not the point of touching on it and moving on and then go live in your day through your human consciousness. That's only going to last for so long. And then we have to do something with it. You know, it's kind of like anything. If we just use it to escape our daily life, but we're not utilizing any of it. It's like taking a class and you're not implementing any of the tools. You know, and now nothing's changing. Well, nothing's changing because we're not doing anything. We're not moving a reality out. We're not anchoring anything in. We don't want to do that part. So there's so much unnecessary fear around a lot of this stuff because it is unknown to human consciousness. You know, it is unknown. 90% of our DNA is, they call it junk DNA. Human consciousness will say it's junk DNA. It's star DNA. It's our ancient memory DNA. It's not junk, it's just human consciousness doesn't know where it goes to. So we're going to say it doesn't matter. And in your human consciousness, it doesn't, honestly. It doesn't matter. You're not going to, because you're not unlocking it. It doesn't matter. But as you get farther along in your ascension process, all of this stuff starts to unlock. So, you know, we can be channeling and get a message, right? And you can then, just going back to, I think I started this and didn't finish it, to how it can get kind of twisted. And then you'll take that message and say, okay, that must be about this person. Not about me, it's about this person. right? Because we're twisting it because we don't want to really look at ourselves in this. Oh, it's about this person, and let me take it down that route. Let me go that route with it, and then we can spin up a whole reality on that and a whole story around that when the message was us. It's always going to be us. We always want to take it and twist it and think that we're getting the secrets to the universe for everybody else. Now, in a way, we are, because it's the same consciousness for everybody. But until we reach a certain level of purity, where we're not channeling anymore, we're not disconnecting off to connect, in a sense. We're connected in body and bringing the information in. And there's a definite difference in that. One's a more awakening, beginning of ascension. The other is through your ascension process. There's just two different types of ways you're going to do it. And we have to make the jump to the next one. We can't just be channeling all the time and talking about what, like I said, I think I've said this before, spirit guides, we're into any of that material. It's all fourth dimensional material. It opens us up, but when we stay in that thinking everything is outside, and also sometimes when I hear people talk, we'll talk about we consciousness, and sometimes I'll speak in us and we, and sometimes I'll do that, sometimes I'll just say me. It's kind of all the same to me. It's all of me. Some people will say we or they said this. I've seen that, but to me when we say they told me, we're kind of separating ourselves from it's just us. I told myself. When we say it like that, it brings it more personal for us. Like, this is for me. It's not these extra people telling me this. This is just me. So when I hear people say, well, they said, or then they said this, you'll see it a lot when people channel the Galactic Council. If you're really into your galactic aspects right now, and you're Googling that type of stuff or YouTubing that type of material. What's the guy? There's one guy that does a lot of that type of channeling. I can't think of him, but bizarre, something to that effect. I don't think I've really ever listened to him. Maybe I have, but it's still a separation there. And in the beginning, it's going to come in like that because we're separated, but if we keep the separation going and we don't embody it in, because we don't like, people say, well, I don't like what it feels like. You're not going to like what it feels like. You're not going to feel like yourself. No, you're not, because you're not yourself. You're not your human self. You're not your normal self. You're going to become you're going to become your natural self, what your soul intended you to be, not what our human consciousness is trying to make us believe we are. Because if you really look at our human consciousness and the collective human consciousness and see how distorted it is, how completely corrupt it is, how it is so, and I think now it's very magnified with all the different energies kind of amplifying it, how completely distorted it has all gotten. We can't believe any of that is soul aligned. There's no one, anyone can stand up and say, yeah, you know what? That looks good to me. I can see why that would be soul aligned. Now, in a sense, it is soul aligned for that person's journey right now. Everyone going in that collective and going through it, that's going to push them through to their awakening or through their awakening into their ascension. So in that way, it's soul aligned. But if we feel like those are the highest line realities where, you have some people who have so much and other people who have absolutely nothing, that's okay. That's okay as long as it's not affecting me. As long as the tornado doesn't hit my house and it's hitting the next door neighbor's house, yeah, I'll take you a cake, but as long as it's not me, no, it's not persecution as long as I'm not being persecuted. Now it's something going on. We can really see the divide, how it becomes, when we're human, it's all about us and our family, our blood family. And then as you move through ascension, it becomes more of the collective and your soul family and your galactic family. And as you continue to expand, we're all the same person. So all of the fighting and amongst everyone else, and I say everyone else, but in the collectives you see, there's a purpose for it, and technically it's soul aligned because that's where these collectives are. But when we look at it from higher consciousness, and you look at how you've been shown and shifted and how you're living your life from using your higher consciousness aspects as a guide, you see how changed your life was than when you were in your human consciousness. You know, you see it. Wow, that's so different than what it used to be, because it is different than where it used to be. It's not the same anymore, and you can see that. So when we look out there, this looks good to me. You know, obviously it's like, this is just a mess. I'm like, oh my God, this is such a fucking mess. I don't even, you know, it's going to take a long time for this to get kind of unravel and get stripped away. So when we are into anything to raise your consciousness, astral plane, if you want to call it astral, I can't even say it, astral projection. Like I said, I never saw it like that, but I've heard it. I never saw it like that. Channeling. Any of it. What's the other one? Trans channeling was one I used to hear years ago. You don't really hear trans channeling anymore. And the concept sounds kind of funny to me now, because it involved... I'm going to bring it in, and then we're going to kind of, you know, we'll play with it a little bit, but trans channeling involved where you would leave your body and some other thing would come in and talk through you. It's trans channeling, right? And you heard it more years ago. You don't really hear anybody talking about trans channeling anymore. I mean, technically it doesn't make any sense, because nothing can come in that's not you. So can you tap into something and get a message, but it's still your message in a sense, because you can't do that unless you still hold the same thing. It's kind of like why these people are in our life that we look at and we go, how the fuck are you still in my life? I mean, why are we still doing this? Why are we still talking every day? I mean, I know I don't really dislike you, but we have nothing really in common, and I don't know how you're holding here, you know? I mean, I don't get it. How are you still here? Why have you not left yet? And it's kind of the same thing. Anything that kind of holds us there, you know, anything that kind of holds us there. And if you want to even go into, I'm just going to touch on it, you know, poltergeist, right? You see a lot of stuff about that. That's kind of getting a little bit of a resurgence lately. It's still us. It's us. We're transcending, but it's still us. You know, there's nothing to fear. And like when you're in the fourth dimension and you're getting into a lot of these concepts, there's always a pushback, either from our internally, our human consciousness is going to push back on us, or you'll project it outside for someone else to push it back on you, to say, even if you become like you're good with it, but then someone will say, oh no, wait a minute, you shouldn't do that. Wait a minute, what are you doing? It's still for us to, our fear is what keeps us from being able to really exploring, okay? That's what keeps our body in certain frequencies. That's what's trying to shake loose. You know, like panic attacks, it's shaking loose. A lot of your soul is shaking loose the fear for you to release it. And for some people, it's super intense. It depending on either in this existence or the other ones that you're going on concurrently right now, how rough it has been for you. Some people had very traumatic human experiences. Some of us haven't had super traumatic human experiences. People will call it the PTSD from leaving the human realities behind, and they can have some severe anxiety attacks leaving because they have so much fear in the body. We all have a huge amount of fear in the body. No matter if you had a super traumatic, you know, human experience in this current reality that we're talking in right this second, or in, you know, 5-dimensional removed in a sense, not, you know, not time, just dimensions. But some people have it worse than others because of all the fear in the body. But we all have a massive amount of fear. Just some people have a crippling fear. It gets so much unleashed at one time that they do have panic attacks. And the first thing everyone wants to do is suppress it. Let's suppress the attack. We don't want it to happen. You want to breathe through the fear. You want to feel the fear. Breathe through the fear. And no, it's just you're trying to expand. You know, it's not something that is to fear. And there's so much just fear on so much of this. I know back, even in the very, very beginnings, my third eye, I could always feel it. It would tingle and go, you know, I could just feel it. You know, I still do. And I remember I had a comment on my YouTube years ago. It was like, oh my God, that's so dangerous. You should just go right to the ER when that happens. And I just thought it's kind of funny. because it tingles and you can feel it. I'm like, yeah, you can feel it. And it's funny because some kids can see it. You know, some kids will say, you got 3 eyes. You know, because children can see through it, you know, and they'll be like, oh, you have like 3 eyes. Or some people will even say, you know, you have 1 eye, because it all kind of combines together. So anyway, all right, I'm going to check the chat really fast to see if I have anything. I didn't do that last time. I forgot all about it. It's been so long. I'm so out of doing the lives that I haven't really done it in a while. Okay, I don't have anything I need to answer, so I think I'm going to end it here. Hopefully this will kind of assist, and if there are any more questions, you can just leave it in my I'm gonna put this on YouTube so you can get it there. I do still want to do a Q&A on YouTube, but it's probably going to be into late July at this point because I won't be filming next week. So, all right, I'll see everybody next time. Bye.